Hi, Gail Fugit, President and CEO of the Advertising Research Foundation, and I'm here with David Cutbill, the U.S. Head of Advisory Services for Media and Entertainment at Deloitte & Touche.
That's right.
So you've been in that role for a while, but it sounds like it's evolved in the last few years to be a new kind of agglomeration based on what's going on out in digital media and with consumer connections. Say just a bit about that.
Media entertainment for us is kind of broad-ranging. So it covers not only the traditional media you would think of, strays into new media. And the advisory service for us is a kind of new matching of expertise. There's a fair amount of risk advisory in there, built around a concept of trust and security, plus a lot of the corporate finance and transactional type services.
We have Tell Me Your Story.
I started playing tennis very young, and then through professional. From college in England, I went straight into an accounting firm. And that's how I ended up in accounting. It was a natural place. My wife is American, so I moved through that practice to start running their consulting practice for media entertainment in LA. Been here for 20 plus years doing that.
Were there any disappointments or failures along the way?
So I think there's always opportunity. People tend to focus on things that are disappearing and not focus on the opportunities coming around. I think we see that in the marketplace now. Investors don't know how to value the marketplace. The old providers like the cable, etc., don't have a narrative yet for the marketplace of what it looks like. They're being devalued, and those who are into the news space are being overvalued. And so we'll start to see more of those opportunities, and I think the valuations in the marketplace.
Drill down a little bit deeper on that in terms of television advertising.
Television is evolving, I think, and not disappearing. And what we're seeing now is it's much more of a portable experience, and that allows for the brands to tell a more compelling story over a longer period of time with individuals.
Do you think that it makes sense to approach the consumer with different creative on these different platforms, or do you think that a more consistent marketing approach?
Right now it's fragmented just because the way we deliver content is fragmented, and it's not well connected, so it's very difficult for an advertiser then to connect and tell a story across. And you're starting to see the battle over who owns the consumer. So I think when that comes together and you get more of a compelling experience across platforms, then the advertisers can come behind that.
Who do you think is going to own the consumer?
We see potentially two different views. One is the curated environment, which is almost over the top of over the top. Yeah. The other view says you're going to want to start to own your own information. And then you have a concept of a personal digital assistant. So it's that kind of ownership. Will I own it, or will I let somebody else curate it for me?
Things are being disintermediated, and there are almost too many links in there. What's your take on that?
If you look outside the US, where that doesn't happen, it's not necessarily the same. So within China, we have a few companies who do everything, then the experience can be completely different. So it's just interesting in the US because there's such barriers between each of those data pockets.
You know, people ask me all the time, should I hold or fold them? How do I know?
You should spend about 60% of your time doing what you do now, 25% of your time doing what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years, maybe time looking 5 to 10 years out. If you even pick up a newspaper now,
yes.
Could you find the classified advertising anywhere? But that got disrupted very quickly by online marketplaces. They just match buyers and sellers, and they had a completely different profit motive.
There's a lot of talk about millennials. What's your take on that?
I think the big question people are asking is, if you're a millennial now, but then at 28 you have kids,
are you going to change?
Do you still map the millennial behavior?
Right.
Millennials, as they come through, do change behavior. Everything's going to be different.
But speak about measurement a little bit.
One of the things I think people are starting to demand is that it's outcome measurable. And I think that's what technology will do for us. It's not necessarily going to change the creativity, but it's going to make it more frictionless, content specific, micro-targeted, time relevant.
What do you feel your biggest success has been this past year?
I think it's a focus around an often overused term called ecosystems. I think if you start to understand better the dynamics of an ecosystem, then you can start to shape it for the future.
What do you think it's going to take for people to be able to liberate their spending?
I think it's going to come down to trust. In the past, you knew who you were advertising through. Either trusted the newspaper or you trusted the broadcast channel.
That's true.
But in digital, they've suddenly been confronted. And so we have an offering around traffic quality. And it's not black and white, there's a grey in between it.
Do you think that's going to get sorted out, this whole topic of ad fraud?
I don't think so. It's just going to continue to evolve, that technology evolves. It's an interesting thing that fraud is not often directed at advertising. The company who are actually trying to commit fraud somewhere else, create the bots that then trick the advertising engine.
People would be interested in hearing a key part of your values.
Family and friends is the highest of the value. Work is work. Unfortunately, we live in a world where you could work 24/7, so you have to decide where the boundaries exist.
How did you do that?
Just segmenting off either time or areas or activities.
What prediction do you have for 2016?
For us, the interesting prediction is a non-prediction, which is probably not think many things will change. Virtual reality is one of those big topics within CES, but it was 3 years ago. And there's just a tail between adoption and the initiation of some of those trends.
Thank you so very much.
I appreciate it.